fighting like crazy, man.
All right, let's get started. Let's go. Let's get down to business here. Quiet, you sons of fishes. Now, what's going on?
I'm leaving the club.
You're what?
I'm switching sonar.
Why?
'Cause now I can see fish swimming live in front of my boat. I even see fish attack my lure. Y'all's sonar's just history. I'm out.
I'm with him.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Bylaws say I can call for a vote.
Vote, bylaws.
No, he's right. He can call for a vote.
Well, sure. Any of you other sons of fishes want to switch from the sonar we've always used? Say aye.
Aye.
What's your problem?
Well, I abstain.
Abstain? What do you mean abstain?
Well, the truth is, I've been using Garmin the entire time.
So you guys are all ditching the club?
Nope. Just you. Because both you and your sonar are just history.
Give me your patch.
He cracks me up. That's funny every time.
There's a big one just there. Holy moly, that's big. Right up on that wash on the Spike 44. That's the deep runner, so just jamming into the rocks. You can see as I'm fishing it, it's a real slow retrieve. Kind of really careful with the rod tip. So as you feel the rock or the kelp, you just slow down and kind of lift your rod tip. That's the deep diving spike again, the EXDR. So there's an MR and an EXDR. This one will go down to probably a maximum of about 12 feet. And the MR is about half that, 6 feet. So using the deep one today, the washes. Working not too bad.
What do you see?
Reminds me of muskies.
I love your mind.
They call it a bucket mouse because he's got a bucket mouse.
Wow.
I just want to tell you, I've been slaying the walleye lately.
That is so hot.
Ever bump the stump?
Suffix 832, the line that changes the game.
And here we are, ABT Live number 35. Hope you enjoyed the intro there. That was Nicole Smith having a bit of fun. New ad from Garmin was pretty good. I hadn't seen that one before, but Nicole's greatest comment was the Suffix ad that we all know and love. That's what it's going to be like in Knoxville, Tennessee on the last night of the Classic where everyone's finished for the season. All the awkward Bass Pros there, all the groupies. The ABT Tour is going to see that all go down. And it's coming up quick. What is it? Less than 2 weeks away.
12 days.
12 days away till the ABT Tour goes to the Bassmaster Classic to see Carl fish his first Bassmaster Classic. So, hey, we talked to Carl tonight. We talk about his awesome Florida campaign that we all saw and loved and, as usual, clashed with most of the events we were running. So I were up all night watching them. And the upcoming Classic. So, full circle. We saw Carl first when he was too young to fish. We'd seen him drive to the lake where his mum had to drive him there to back the trailer down. We punted him across to the US in around 2010 and now he's made the Classic. So there you go. A lot of you might have the Fear My Heart Classic shirts. We sent those out about a week ago. Most people should have those. All the ABT Tour group members have got those. Going to be a lot of Aussies cheering for that, guys. So it's an exciting month coming up. But we've had a busy month. February, this office and studio basically didn't see us. We ran 4 events in Victoria, 2 Bass Pro, 2 Brim. We ran the Venom Rods BARRA Australian Open up at Wonga. The Bluefin team ran the first of the Avator Bass Electric Series down at Coracai on the Richmond River. So we basically got all species done in 1 month. So we're taking a little bit of a breather now. Going to go across to the Classic and come back, get into some more events. The next event is the second round of the Avator Bass Electric Series on the Clarets, run out of Brushgrove. Just quietly, Bo and the Bluefin team, we haven't got the results yet to put on the website, so it's been about 9 days. Get them to us, boys. We can get the AOY updated, get everything sorted out. That's you, Bo. You're the captain of the team. Get them to us, please. Otherwise, everything went smooth on the day. They've got all the patches, all the trophies. Anyone who won a patch or in the first month, they've all been dispatched now. They miraculously turned up from the supply, about 2 months late, but they came here eventually. And we are now on the rails, chugging down, getting this year sorted. We got prizes tonight, plenty of prizes as usual. Probably can't see them, they're just out of shot here, but we have the Where You From prize tonight. It's about half a dozen packs of Bait Junkies, some Daiwa scissors. That's going to be given away for just telling us, either on Facebook or on YouTube. Just tell us where you're watching from, so we got that. We've got on the show tonight Michael Starkey from Frogleys Offshore. He's giving us a bit of a history of the launch of these his reel baits from Atomic. So I've got a couple of packs from Atomic. They've got deep and shallow runners. They've got one of the reel baits lures in them. They've got one of the Atomic caps here. So well worth winning. 2 of those packs tonight. We'll get to the mechanic of that in a little while. And of course, to celebrate the Venom Rods BARRA Australian Open, I've got a couple of leftover angler kits, so you can win exactly the kit that anglers won. It's got a fish trap in there, got a live mullet in there, it's got a couple of the flat shads in there, it's got one of the Manic Vibes in there, Caddy Slayer, and one of the new V-swims that the guys are catching flathead and barra and all sorts of things on. So we'll get to the mechanic of that one a little bit later tonight. Rest assured, plenty of prizes. 1, 2, 3, 4 prize packs being given away tonight. All worth plenty of coin. One of the cool things which did happen though was at the BARRA Australian Open, we had an angler catch his PB Barra, went on social media and it busted the internet. It's reached nearly 600,000 people for this photo. We're going to go to an ad break and come back with Leon Mittlehouser's 124 centimetre Barra and just what the story was with how he got it. So you'll hear from him soon. Here he is. He is the man of the month. Leon, catcher of the 124 centimetre, 30 kilo Barra in the Venom Rods BARRA Open at Wonga. Your PB could not have come at a better time, could it?
Oh, mate, there's a lot of banter, a lot of chat about it all in the boat. And, yeah, it certainly come at a bloody awesome time.
We were sitting down having a fish and, you know, Nicole, she's checking on with the results all the time. And it's like, oh, God, someone just caught a 124. And so she was on it straight away, posted it on social media. Let me tell you what the social media stats are for that now. So far, that photo has been liked 3,500 times, and it's reached 577,000. I don't know if you can see it on there, but it's reached 577,000 people. That one big Barra photo. If there's anything that's going to put Lake Wonga on the map, it's giant fish like that. And just quietly, that's not the only one that size in there, is it?
No, mate. There's there's been several. Last year there was a couple over that metre 30 mark that come wandering out of there, and there's a lot at the moment around that 110, 1.8. This moon they certainly fired up.
Yep.
So yeah, it's only a matter of time before we see a wonga in the old days.
Yeah, and I hear rumours that there's over 1 million barra they're intending to put in there this year, as in fresh stocking, and the amount of country and weed they've got to grow up in is ridiculous there at the moment, isn't it?
Oh mate, it'll be awesome in so many ways. I think you'll find it'll be one of those dams where you can take the kids and catch something in that 60, 70 centimetre range, or if you're patient, chase that 110, 120 sort of style, and just it'll be a bit of both. It'll be excellent.
Now, give us a bit of your history. Where are you dialing in from today?
I'm out in Banana, so I'm a good 2 hours from Gladstone at the moment.
And have you been out there ever since the Open?
Yes, I left for work just after the presentation, so I haven't been able to get back for a fish to try again.
There you go. So take us through the capture. Most of us haven't caught a barra that big that are watching the show tonight. Take us through the situation you caught it, what you threw, and where you threw it. Tell us about the spot and the catch.
Oh, look, it's a pretty common spot on the dam. It's got a lot of good features about it. Comes up out of deep water both sides, so it allows them to move around quite a lot. But just the old trusty Mollocks once again. Nothing special to it. I actually was probably one of the most boring casts ever. I just threw it out, and I was sort of contemplating what our actually next move was, and then yeah, bang, away it went. So
Like just a slow roll, let it hit the bottom, slow roll.
Honestly, mate, it was count down off the edge of the weed and just as slow as you could possibly get it. I normally work on Mollocks very hard, try to twitch them, get that reaction out of them, which is quite successful. But yeah, that was literally one of probably the most boring casts ever in my life, which turned into something pretty awesome.
So now it's your favourite barra cast, the ultra slow roll with no twitches or anything. What leader and line are you using?
On that one, that was the 80-pound Yoziri leader. It's unreal. We looked like it was down its throat, and I've got it saved at home with the lure on it still. And honestly, you could probably go again for another cast with that one. And 50-pound sunline.
There you go. So you're not mucking around
on the old Abu Beast.
You're not mucking around up there, are you? Like you're expecting to get a big fish swallowing it down, so you got the right gear for it.
Yeah, look, a lot of blokes fish a lot lighter. They probably get a few more bites, but I'm a bit heavy-handed on the old hook set, and if they connect, they stay, and I don't want them going anywhere.
Do you modify your Mollocks and add that second hook on that delicate little back hanger?
I do modify it. I leave the top hook on still. A lot of people cut that off. Lucky I left it on because it was the only thing pinned in its mouth.
Yep.
But I go away from the back hook and use a 1-0 treble. 2 split rings, get it hanging down, a lot wider gape.
Yep.
And it's a hell of a lot stronger.
Yep.
So other than that, a little bit of dip on the tail, mate, but nothing super fancy with them.
What colour was it? What colour Mollocks was it?
That was in the Ghost Bass. So last year I must have went through, I don't know, hundreds of Ghost Bass last year. I was struggling to get them at one stage. And this year, not so much. And I just said to Liam, I said, bugger, I'm going to try it. It's not quite enough moon, but we'll have a crack. And yeah, that cast it just the way it went.
Now, tell us about Liam. We had him on the show in the last ABT live. Someone told me he hasn't caught a metre in a wonga yet.
Oh, yeah, it's a bit of a known thing around home, and it's a sore point. But hey, look, if he keeps trying, I'm quite sure he'll get one, and it'll be a bloody stonker. Comes to the saltwater barra, but he's got as much skill as you'll ever need.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that. Let's just get back to a wonga there. It's like, what do you got to say to your team, mate? What, if you keep trying, you're going to get there this year, son? Maybe this year?
Yeah, he'll get there. We'll sort it out this weekend, hopefully.
Yep, go and get himself one. So I'm just thinking that maybe we need to get him a meet a BARRA patch or something that he can stick on his shirt when he gets it, when he finally gets like a Boy Scout badge or something for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Get it stitched on for him and he can wear it to the shop like it's his birthday badge.
Anyone who's watching this who's in Gladstone, drop into Liam's shop and just always ask him if he's caught a meter in a wongi, and I think that'll get him motivated, don't you think?
Oh, it's got him motivated, trust me. It's on there.
Well, thanks for taking the time tonight to have a chat to us. I think the first-hand story of that big barra is amazing. I'm sure Nicole right now is going to put a cutaway of that fish up there just to show how big it was. Like you're not a jockey. This barra makes you look small behind it. It's a big fish,
mate. That's been the general comment. If it makes me look small, it's a bloody big fish. So. It's certainly, even the 116 I got out of there that went 28 kilos, that thing still was nothing like this. It was just unbelievable.
That's right. And in our length weight curve, it for that length fish, you get a 30 kilo fish, but in the condition it was probably a fair bit heavier than that. So your deadlift weights you must be pretty strong to get that thing.
Yeah. It took a bit of effort to get that one in the air, especially after the excitement, and it certainly wasn't the most easiest of captures, that one, but no, it was bloody great.
Well, you chose the best time to catch your PB. I think it won you $1,000, won your venom rod, won your bragging rights over your poor old teammate. You got his PB beaten by about 26 centimetres in the lake or something there now. So.
Yeah. Nah, look, mate, it was good to see it swim away too, buddy. So she's still in there looking for the next buddy person to surprise.
There you go. More broad, I know you're local to Awonga there. Have you ever had thoughts of maybe fishing some of the rest of the tour and giving some of the other lakes a go?
Absolutely. This year, I did a little bit of it many years ago in Little Tinny and got a horrible fright in some of them. So this year, boat's been retired at the moment and it's getting a bit of work done to it. And hopefully all things line up, we'll be up for the full Northern Tour this year. So try and give it a red hot crack. Bloody keen.
Awesome. Who's your teammate going to be? Going to be Liam, or does he have to catch a metery before he goes on tour?
No, mate. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully everything lines up, and we can go through and do the whole year together. It's bloody, he's just on a bloody bit of a bad run at the moment. He'll come good, real soon.
I think that you and him will love it on tour. They're a great bunch of guys. You'll fit right in at the end of a night. Crack a beer open. Tell stories about the one that got away, and you do that for like 10 days in a row. It's pretty good.
Absolutely. Sounds bloody great.
Awesome. Well, enjoy your time. I hope you get him back on the lake and you go and build a few barras when you get home, because that much time not fishing wouldn't suit me. So you're a tough man to do that. Thanks for joining us on ABT Live.
No dramas. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Every sunrise is a promise. It's a celebration of what's to come. Memories waiting to be made. And adventures to be had. Each new day is an open invitation to live beautifully. Make every day more beautiful with Maui Jim.
How good a bloke is Leon, and great to see him catch his PB in that event. Any of the guys that do the BARRA Tour, comment down below and tell me if you reckon Leon's going to fit into the BARRA Tour. I reckon he's going to be bloody unreal. I think he's going to love it, and just quietly, I reckon his dicky might get himself a metery, Teamborough, Faust, somewhere like that. So it'd be great to see you guys up on tour. That's a pretty high bar to jump over, Leon. Congratulations and well done. Now, speaking of PB barras, I got a mechanic where you can win one of the Xeric prize packs, same as all the anglers got at the Open. I want you to just tell me below what your PB barra is, or if you haven't caught a barra, tell us you haven't caught a barra yet. Nicole will pick one of those PBs, not necessarily the biggest, just the one with that strikes her or randomly picks. Could be on YouTube, could be on Facebook, but later on in the show we'll pick one of the PB barras, comment it down below. They will win that Xeric pack. We will get it in Australia Post to you. You'll probably only have it in about 2 weeks. Their service is pretty good. Let's go to another quick break from one of our sponsors. When we come back, bonus points if there's a picture. Oh, Nicole says bonus points if there is a picture of the barra there. Has they got a better chance of winning if there's a picture?
Yep. There might be more in the prize pack.
Oh, okay. So no more chance of winning, but there might be more things in the prize pack if you can put a picture with it. So get posting. I don't know if you can put a picture on YouTube. You haven't thought this one through, have you?
Yeah, this is Facebook.
For Facebook, all right. Picture on Facebook. Let us know on YouTube. She will beef up that prize pack. Let's go to a break and come back with Michael Starkey taking us through his weird-looking natural creations, like these atomic reel baits and their hard bodies. Well, this is an ABT live field trip. We are at a Wonga Dam before the last day of the BARRA Australian Open. I've got Michael Starkey here from Atomic. And Michael, you love taking your new boat out for trips around the country. You hit the BARRA scene with a bang last year up at Faust and Kinchin. You got limits all over the joint, but Wonga's a bit tougher, isn't it?
It has been a bit tougher this week. We were here a couple months ago, the first time I used the boat, actually, just before that tour, and banged a few, but this trip's been real tough. There's, only 11 boats out of 25 got them or something like that?
I think, yeah, but you know what? The BARRA Australian Open, like all of the Australian Opens, is supposed to be a tough event. And look, coming into this last session, anyone can win it. You know, like if you can be on a donut, catch 2 or 3 good ones, and bang, you're there. So
someone catches a limit, they're going to take this out today. It's a good challenge actually, but Southern dams at the moment are hit and miss, and that's just part of BARRA fishing in these dams.
And that's the Open. Now, I want to talk today about your Atomic brand of BARRA stuff. Like, you didn't used to have much BARRA stuff, a little bit of stuff which was sort of applicable, but now you've sort of nailed it with specific technique lures and the reel baits especially, which look fantastic. So we've got some of these to give away on the show tonight. Take us through some of the baits we're talking about here and how you've been using them.
Yeah, so the first one to talk about are those reel baits. So we went down this track of getting the most realistic Australian profile baits we can get. So this one's a bully mullet. So these were 3D scanned, fins and everything, but one of the unique thing about this is that we actually don't just paint, people spray paint lures. We actually 3D print the pattern on it to get that scale pattern, to get that exactly like a bully mullet.
Yep.
We have a yellow eye mullet, we have pilchards, Australian pilchards, blue pilchards. Like, these slight differences in these baits make all the differences trying to get it as natural as possible. So reel baits have been a fantastic range, and we slayed it up at Faust and Mackay and those dams up there. So it was good to see that they're being successful so far too.
Tell us about the that 3D printed like paint job on them. Is it more durable than just a paint job?
It's still the same paint job at the end of the day. It's a rubber on a latex. If you sit there and rub it off fingernail, it's going to rub off eventually.
20 BARRA will smash it.
Yeah, 20 BARRA. But if you catch 1 BARRA here, I'm going to be pretty stoked. So it's it will come off over time. The same as any paint job, because it is still a paint. It's just computer printed, which means it's just not a generic spray or a paintbrush. It's actually a computer. So get it more realistic, which is all about what the reel baits are about.
And these are ready to fish straight out of the box?
Yeah, so one of the things we did do, because they're designed in Australia after Australian bait fish, is put the right jig heads and the right, not jig heads, the weighted hooks and stuff in, and the right trebles. So we actually have these hooks, especially in these mullet, the big ones for BARRA, that we had to wait over 12 months to get a hook because Gamakatsu didn't have the correct hook for these. We actually, part of a design process, designed a new hook that was heavy enough and thin enough to fish for our fish. And this is one of the first, the first lures in the world to use these new heavy-duty Jig 60 hooks. And they're available in our mullet range now, but they are super strong and you will not straighten those main hooks. And at the end of the treble, it depends on what you want to fish for. Dew, mullet, you just swap it off or leave it off if you want to be a bit more weedless.
Yep. That's one thing BARRA guys do a lot. They get a lure. The first thing they do is they take it apart, boil it, throw the hooks away, put new hooks on, end up spending $20 on a lure that they shouldn't really have to.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things of the BARRA. I've always fished BARRA back in the day. I fished up here and stuff. Always liked it, but never really got into that market. And when we thought, okay, we're going to bring out a few BARRA lures, we're going to do it properly. We don't want to throw a lure out of the pack. That I did at Peter Faust. I didn't change a single thing, even use the hooks that were on it.
Yep.
Personally, I like to upgrade them to a Gamma Treble 14, but I'd use them out of the pack to show that you can just use them exactly as it was. We banged like 30 fish in one night up there, and they survive. There's no problem at all. The lead in them, everything about them, they're wired through from the hook down to the treble. There's nothing that can break inside this lure.
Let's go through a little bit of Awonga history with the Starkeys. Michael used to fish it back in the day. Let's go through back in the day. You're not the barra god here. It's your old man, isn't it?
Yeah, Dad and Jock came here and we fished the first tournament again, Wagga here. Pretty tough tournament, as they all are here. And we just put up the bank and said the old man come over and have a crack at it too. And they just got the right spot and slayed it. They were first, second, I think they were, and I was third. And then Tristo come along at 8th, I think. So overall, we did pretty good, but they did beat me.
But the old man, Paul, you are a legend.
Yeah.
Let's go through some of the hard bodies here. A bit of a resurgence in the jerkbaits for Barra at the moment. The especially with the live sonar, guys like a lure, they can control where it is and see it in the water. What do we got?
Yeah. So I'll go through this, but one more thing on the reel baits, just to forget. After Peter Faust and after fishing these, we're actually releasing more of these at next year's show.
Okay.
And because I've noticed some of the times, some of these could be a bit heavy sometimes casting against a real shallow weed that we have, especially here at Awonga. So we're going to have different models of these lighter weights for this mark. So we're going to continue to develop reel baits for Barra for Australia. But now onto these new slim twitchers. So jerk baits, as you're talking about, how fun is it to catch fish on jerk baits? It's awesome. So we've got the slim twitcher, which has been slaying the flathead for a few years now. But what we developed is this new one here, this deep. Bigger bib, 4.5 metre diver, which is great for those fish out in that flats that you're talking about with those live scopes and for Barra. And they're super good. So the 95 for the flathead, obviously, but 110 and a 125 in the deep for the Barra have been magnificent. I was actually we tested them up here back in November and got a few fish on them, the prototype. One colour back then, but we've got the range now.
What's it like when you have how many prototypes do you have when you go fishing? Do you take like a prototype out and if you lose it, you're in trouble?
Well, we were talking about this the other night. You know, it's one of my rods here has got a prototype surface barra lure on, and I gave one to go and fish with Mick, and we're there going, okay, we've got 2 in our hands. I said, if we lose one of these, we could probably survive and make a mold for the second one. But if we lose both those, we're back to scratch. We're going to start designing from absolute scratch again. Because most of our molds come out, they're all hand done at the start to get the right bibs, get the right action. You see them carve in and one a bit deeper or one that twists to the side. It's all hand done at the start before we go to prototype molds, but then we go to production molds. So if that very first one, if you happen to lose it, you're in a lot of trouble.
That's it. He's in a lot of trouble. Mick goes to work. It's a quality hand job, and then he takes it fishing.
Yep, exactly. That's kind of what you can take out from that.
Michael, you've moved into the Barra space. The reel baits, I know especially, have been very, very well received. Have you got anything else in the pipeline that we can expect to see in the next year or two?
Yeah, definitely. We've got, after speaking to Carl, I spent the week with Carl over the last Barra. There's a few types of these swim baits that we're going to go into that suit. Obviously, the American ones just don't suit our market. They're not built for this, but beauty about Atomic, it's an Australian brand. We can do whatever we want and develop whatever we want. And we're big enough to be able to develop for Australia, which is one of our strengths of Atomic. So there's a few sort of swim bait sort of things we're bringing out. And the whole range of these reel baits are coming out in hard bodies for the cod and the Barra too. So those big swim hard bodies are going to come out in the same profiles. But even things like, well, use them right here, new Barra rods. So this is actually the first in Australia. No one has seen these rods at all. This is the first production rod.
We'll hold it nice and still so the viewers can watch it.
So that is the new Atomic. So they are going to be released in about a month. Not a single, no one, even my reps haven't seen this. They've got a sales conference in a week. Going to have a look at these. So you are the first people in Australia to see these new Atomic Arrows rods. So the new cosmetics, upgraded a bit, switched some few things around, made the blinks a bit lighter in a few models. So the entire range is going to come out. But we thought we'd bring the Barra ones up, and why not? If I could have access to them, I'll give them a crack first.
The arrows have always had a reputation of being a good rod at the right price too. These are the same milk.
Yep, exactly the same. We're trying to keep that price at the price point. We want high quality rods at a good price for people to be able to just go out and afford. You don't have to change them. Guides are configured for Australia, not micro guides. Not trying to price these big knots through little guides. And well, as you can see there, that's another one of our reel baits I've been throwing. Upgrade treble, because that one's actually a jack lure, but some of those smaller profiles and different tails in it. A lot of development into the different action of how to swim. Like a mullet's a big, slow swimmer. Pilchar's a nice little sharp swimmer, so you got to change the tail to suit the type of fish to make it as realistic as possible.
Well, there you go. Michael Starkey doesn't just spend all of his day playing Minesweeper in the office. He is developing the lures. A great new sponsor of ABT. He's back sponsoring, back fishing. Mate, thanks for joining us. Good to see you, and stay tuned after this segment for the mechanic on how you can win yourself some Atomic Barra lure kits.
What if every journey began with the push of a button? Where would you go? With the Mercury Avator 7.5e electric outboard, all you need is a destination. It's your invitation to fully immerse in the natural world around you. The Avator outboard's portable design and intuitive controls make getting on the water easy, while quick connect batteries let you bring along the power you need. so you can be ready no matter where adventure takes you. Stay connected while free to explore with a vivid display that tracks battery level and range. Or plot a course on the intelligent mobile app. Avator connected systems share everything you need to know to get the most from any journey. The all-new Mercury Avator 7.5e outboard. Intelligent, all-electric propulsion designed to make exploring effortless. Let your journey begin with Mercury Avator.
Now, I'm not saying that we have to fact check everything that Michael and I say, but it stands to a bit of scrutiny if we do it properly. While that segment was running, I just went and Googled those results. That was it was the Berkeley Awonga evening event back in 2008. Now, everyone that says, oh, back in the 2008 Awonga fishing was easy, it was Jock McPherson that won it, that came first. He won with 5 fish, 3 fish on the first night, 2 on the second night for 4.25 metres. So anyone that thinks everyone caught limits every single day back in the late 2000s, dreaming. It was hard back then as well. Wonga's not always easy. But Michael, you were lying. You didn't come third. You come second. That was pretty good. Tristo didn't come 8th. He came like 23rd or something like that. But let me just read through the names because it's pretty interesting here. Ian Miller came 6th in that year. Roderick Wormsley 7th. Paul Starkey actually came 8th. I was wrong. Adam Meredith, one of the previous Australian Open champions, came 10th. Jason Wilhelm 13th. Moving down the list, who else have we got here? Dan Gretsch, 22nd. Tristan Taylor, 23rd. That's where he came. Jake Schrin, gun on a Wonga nowadays, but back then he only caught 2 fish and came 28th. Look at that. Trent Short, Travis Davies, Craig Simmons. All the Bass guys used to come up and really give the Barra guys a go. 41st, John Millard, one of the best Barra fishers in Australia there. Who else have we got there? Scott McCauley, gun on a Wonga, came 80th. Rob Wood, minus 20 points. You must have been late, mate. Minus 20 centimetres. 89th. Well done, Rob. Mars on fire. There were 46 boats and 92 anglers fished that event. So there you go. Awonga's not always easy. And thanks very much to Michael for a couple of kits. We've got about 10 of these kits to give away through ABT Live this year, but we're going to give away 2 tonight. The way we want to do it, we're going to draw 1 on YouTube, 1 on Facebook. You need to tell us what's your local bait fish that you want Michael to make a reel bait of. He might already have it in the system, your favourite bait fish, but write down the bait fish that you would love fishing a reel bait of. Could be a pilly, could be a mullet, could be a whiting, could be a mud crab, I don't know. Whatever you think, throw it in the comments there. And as usual, our producer here, Nicole, is going to pick something out that rings her bell and you're going to win a Barra kit. Now, also, we are aware that a lot of our viewership has probably not caught a Barra. Doesn't matter. You can still put the fact you haven't caught a Barra in there because you might end up with a kit that you can use to catch Barra when you come up on the Barra tour. So, there we go. Exciting news. Dropped a couple of days ago. Power Pole's much vaunted, long-touted electric motor has finally been launched. It's called The Move. Let's have a look at their promotional material and then come back with Troy Whyte, who I think is online on Facebook at the moment as well. Who can answer any of the questions. He knows about one day's more worth of info than you. But let's have a look at the Power Pole Move and have a discussion about exactly what it does.
There's a moment when you're faced with a challenge, and just solving the problem isn't good enough. We accepted that challenge and pushed well beyond all expectations. Even if that means breaking the rules and shredding apart all conventional ways of thinking, all in the name of creating something truly remarkable. We started by developing next-generation brushless tech, which produces the most commanding propulsion ever with supreme efficiency. Fabricated with aerospace-grade titanium for the ultimate in durability, it's engineered with such precision that it has moved beyond stealth. All guided by state-of-the-art advanced GPS navigation modes. We removed all worries with built-in compound fail-safes for unstoppable reliability. And it's painstakingly crafted to last all day, every day. All backed by our continued promise and commitment to be there whenever you need us, no questions asked. With this much control at its command, we didn't stop with just one. we created 2 incredible trolling motors. Introducing the new Power Pole Move brushless trolling motor.
So here he is, new ABT sponsor for this year, Troy Whyte from Minn Repairs. Mate, you have gone from strength to strength. I remember when you used to do this, I think in your garage, and then you had a little premises, and now you're in a big new premises, and you're like the biggest power pole guy in Australia now, mate. It's going for you, isn't it?
Yeah, we're doing our best, Steve, and slowly expanding as we gain more traction within the fishing industry. We're just getting from strength to strength. So yeah.
You have now experienced what a great company PowerPole is to deal with. Industry leading after sales service. You know as well as anyone, ABT has a full set of PowerPole parts, and the instruction from PowerPole is no PowerPoles tied up at tournaments. Get them fixed, get them working, and there's none we haven't been able to fix so far. So the after sales service, even for poles that are like 10 years old, they're like, nah, just fix them under warranty. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. And that's what they build their whole structure on, is that customer service. And we try and do that as well here at Minn Repairs. But yeah, they're amazing.
You, like me, are excited about the new PowerPole trolling motors. They've been in the works for so long. I reckon they're like nearly needs a 10th birthday party, the idea of PowerPole's trolling motor. But by the looks of what's come out,
yeah,
it looks like they've addressed a lot of issues that trolling motors have, and you would know this because you fix half the busted ones in Australia, don't you?
That's correct. That's correct. I think PowerPole have been working on that. I was speaking to them for 8 years. They've been researching this and developing their motor. Yeah.
And look, not mentioning any other brands, but there are points of failure on trolling motors that you get to see every day. Just tell the viewers of Live what your 9 to 5 job is, what you spend your time doing most of the time.
Okay, so what we do here is mainly just trolling motors, and we're repairing motors that are failing in the field, and mainly, your steering boxes, water ingress, things like that. So I think PowerPole have addressed all those issues, and they've come out with a nice motor.
Well, we've seen the ad at the start, but during this conversation, we'll run a little bit of cutaway to show some of the features of the new motor. Now, let it be said, of course, that neither you or I have seen one of these motors yet. We've just we've seen all the specs, and we've seen some of the videos that some of the viewers might have seen as well. But given your position where you see a lot of these points of failure, how excited are you that PowerPole have are going to get it right with the move, which is going to be unashamedly probably the dearest trolling motor on the market?
It will be. It'll be very expensive, but I'm really excited because the technology that's gone into these things, from what I can see, is it's a whole nother level of trolling motors. So they've just upped the game again, and they will be, basically, in their words, bulletproof.
And we like the sound of that, because first thing I ask as an Aussie is, like, I hope I can throw them in salt water. No worries at all. Every motor, they haven't got a salt and freshwater model. They just build everything so it's saltwater corrosion resistant.
Correct, that's right. So every motor in the range is saltwater resistant, and you've got a choice between 2 colours, black and white.
Now, there are 2 broad categories of motor. There's the PV, which is like a standard steering box remote control autopilot style motor.
Yep.
And then you've got the XR, which is the scissor mount, like a cable drive, isn't it?
Yes, it's actually the ZR.
ZR, yes.
Sorry, that's all right. So that's for your more aimed at your tournament bass boats and things like that, like yourself. So yes.
Now, one of the things that I noticed from their promo material is all of the remote controls, all of the accessories for each of the motors are interchangeable with every motor. So if you wanted to run one of the PVs but with a cable foot pedal, that works.
Yeah, they offer a foot pedal for that model. So yeah, that's right.
So you can steer your autopilot style motor with a cable foot. That'd be hard for people to get their head around, the fact that you can do
That's right. Yeah. And the pedals offer feedback too. So you get that resistance, what people are used to.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing. And you can set that up.
Now, one of the things I noticed from the launch material was that they all come with a titanium shaft. And in one of the promo videos, it said that when they made this trolling motor, it was, don't skimp on components. Buy the best component you can for the motor. It'll make it a better motor. So even if it costs 10 times as much, they're going to put the good component in. Hence, a titanium shaft that I don't think even Aussies will be able to break.
No, I don't think so. And yet, it's exactly right. They haven't skimped on anything in the build of the motor. And they've also, using the GPS, they use ProNav, which is a US company. So, yeah, that's also a good
I heard that. So I saw in some of the review stuff, I saw that they were using like drone GPS modules instead of generic ones because they are so accurate. And when they were doing a segment on it, they were in 2 knots of current and that boat was not moving.
Correct. That's right. Yeah, it's used in drone technology. That's right. Yeah. So no, it's very exciting.
One of the things that sticks, and I've got a bit of a list of things here that stick out to me, are things I'm sort of excited about. I'm excited about a very simply designed but a different design of steering box using the planetary gears. Yeah. I noticed that a lot of outboard motor electric steering boxes use that planetary gear technology. It's got a lot of built-in redundancy to it, and at the end of the day, harder for us to bust, but also more durable and less likely to fail due to any of the rigors that we can put it through.
That's right. I mean, my background's aviation, and that's what they used all through that industry is planetary gear setup. Yep. It's a lot more reliable, and PowerPole said if anything fails within that steering box, you can still use the motor for the rest of your day fishing and get back and then repair what needs to be repaired. So I think that's fantastic.
I think that Aussies will also be reassured by the fact that out of the box there's a 3-year warranty, but you and I know that most of the parts on that PowerPole will look after it with a lifetime warranty anyway. Like they are so good at making sure that their stuff works. Yep. I would be the most confident in the industry that they're going to stick by their word and make sure that you are on the water.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they've built their reputation on. And they say once you buy a PowerPole product, you're part of the family. So yeah.
One of the things I really liked was the fact that we all have too many remote controls in boats. The fact that when you buy the Move, it comes with a charging cradle which runs on DC that you can have in your boat, so it can stay charged into cradle off your 12-volt system.
Yep.
That remote control will work for your trolling motor, your power poles, and all of your on-boat power pole systems. So instead of having an up and down button for your power poles and a trolling motor remote, they're all pushed into one. Yes. Got all the jog features on it, spot lock, all of the features that you expect on a trolling motor. But then when it comes to the pedal, all of the buttons on the pedal are broken out, and you've got like wireless stomp switches for those. So yes. You can't accidentally sort of hit your spot lock while you're driving your motor. You put that as a stomp switch on the deck somewhere. So you want to stop, bang, hit that button, and away you go. I think it's using power poles, that Sea Monster back end with all of the Bluetooth connectivity.
That's right.
The flexibility it's out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think it's a great move. So as you know, with the power pole, they had those stomp switches, and now they've integrated the motor with the power pole using that Sea Monster app and that Sea Monster program, and having that anchor mode button to the side, is great because you don't accidentally press it, or if you don't need to use it. Now with the remotes, you can use 24-volt setup on those to charge them as well.
Yep.
But they are wireless, and the PV comes with 2 remotes, and the ZR comes with 1.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the fact that, and I suppose it even goes without saying, this is a brushless trolling motor. You've all the Garmin's, the Lowrance Ghosts, the Power Pole, they all use that brushless technology. I know Minn must be coming out with a brushless motor soon.
They have to be, yeah.
Got to be, because when you put your head under the water, and this is what I'm prone to do, I've done all of the recordings of these motors underwater and how loud they are. Brushless makes a big difference to how loud your motor is to the fish. Now, the fact that the steering box is going to be really quiet and that brushless motor is going to be really quiet, I'm excited about the fact that I can be even more stealthy when it comes to sneaking up on fish, because we all know that the more pressure that comes on fish, doesn't matter if it's brim, bass or barra, the more they know you're there, the harder they are to catch. I'm really excited to see how quiet these things are.
Oh, and so am I. And the brushless technology, they say it's the next generation of brushless technology. So that's what makes it absolutely silent, they reckon.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm really keen to have a look at that and have a listen to it. And yeah, fantastic.
So the question, of course, that all the viewers are asking is like, okay, we know it's going to be expensive. We got any idea of ballpark on price? Like, do I get any change out of 10 grand for one of these?
It'll be close to that, I'd say. I'm just spitballing here, but in America, I think they start at 5,000 US.
Yep.
So if you do the conversion rates and shipping and all that, so yeah, it'll be up. I'd say anywhere.
And look, you sell these motors as well. So what does a top of the line, say an Ultrex Minn Coda cost at the moment?
Yeah, so you're looking, they're up that $7,000, $8,000 mark, depending on what model you want.
Yep. And Garmin Forces are up into the sixes now, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the Lowrance Ghost ones cost, but it especially recently with inflation, I think the gap between the Move and the current motors isn't going to be as big as you think, especially if you're putting on a $100,000 bass boat. It may not be as big as you think the price difference.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. I mean, and for the technology service you get, so we'll be, if they need repairing, we're an authorised repair centre for them.
Yep.
For their trolling motors as well. So you'll get that awesome support as well. So which is worth paying extra for.
Mate, any final comments about the Move? I know you're only sort of a new power pole dealer, but you've probably sold more power poles in the last few months than there's been sold in the country in the last 5 years.
Yeah, giving it a red hot go. Other than, they come in various shaft lengths. So the PV, which is, I say, similar to the Tarova, is sort of that sort of style of motor. They come in all the way from 45 inch to 72.
Yep.
And also with your ZR and your tournament anglers are like this, they have the motors have a reverse function.
Saw that too, don't they? You can actually, without spinning the motor around, you can just back out of a sticky situation.
Yeah, which in canals and, you don't want to hit stumps or whatever, that's really going to come in handy for those guys that want to do that. You don't lose time turning your motor around.
Just quite off the record question while we're on live here. My technique when I get a snag off the bank is I go quite quickly towards the bank. I come off the power, my shaft hits the bank, it sort of bends back a little. I get the lure off, and then that pushes the boat back out. I wonder if I can do that with titanium.
We'll see. I'm sure you'll try it.
Don't come in too hot. Just come in hot enough for it to bounce you back off the bank so you don't rip it off.
Yeah. No, that's right.
And
I think it's important to note that they say they're 30% more efficient, and the weight of them as well, so they're a lot lighter.
Now that is a point I had written down here that I'm actually interested in, because we all put lots of big sounders on the front of our boat. Now I've probably got 20 kilos of sounders on the front of my boat. I've got a 40 something kilo trolling motor on there at the moment. If I can save 10 or 12 kilos off the front of my boat, that makes a big difference to the way a bass boat hull works. I've found that I actually have repropped my boat recently to give me the bow lift I need to keep that performance.
Yep.
Pulling weight off the front of the boat is gold. It lets me spend it in other frivolous things like 16-inch sounders.
Yeah, it is massive. And then with the introduction of lithium batteries, you reduce that weight even more. But just to give you an example, the ZR, which is similar to your Ultrex and things like that, a 52-inch shaft, one of them, you're looking at, they're around about 54 pounds. So it's
really, that's less than 30 kilos. Like that's
weight of
over 20 kilos.
Yeah, weight of a battery. So
wow.
That's amazing. Yeah, real amazing stuff.
Well, we look forward to these things coming into stock, mate. I'm sure that when we get one in stock, we'll actually do another segment and show people around the motor and when they turn up in Australia. Any idea when they're going to turn up?
Not as yet. No, that's still to be announced. But we're trying very hard to get them here, so that we should be the first ones to have them.
Yep.
And then we'll do a nice little review on them.
Mate, thank you very much. Firstly, for your sponsorship of ABT this year, both yourself and PowerPole contributing towards those prize boats at the end of the year. They're going to have power poles on them. They're going to have the Black Hawk helicopter man himself wiring them up, so they're going to work good. And again, thanks for sharing your knowledge on the moves, because they're pretty exciting in the industry at the moment. So thanks for joining us on ABT Live.
No problem. Thanks, Steve.
Introducing the Toadfish non-tipping can cooler. It suctions to any smooth surface, but easily releases when lifted. It gives your favorite can a chance to go where no can has gone before. From a lack of cup holders on a rocking boat to a lack of hands, the non-tipping can cooler keeps your drink upright, accident-free, and icy cold.
Well, there you go. Isn't Troy excited about having another string to his bow out at Minn Repairs there? He fixes a lot of trolling motors, sells power pole products, and now he's got the another competitor in that electric motor space. All I can say is if you haven't got a brushless trolling motor, you will love the difference. It doesn't really matter what brand it is. Brushless trolling motors are quiet, and you'll notice that in your results on the water. Noticed watching there on the side, I think I saw Stevie Eldred and Harry from Garmin watching there, getting a few sneaky bits of information about what the competition's got coming up. Hey, that's what ABT Live's all about. Give the whole industry the information about what's happening there. Just remember, we've got comps on tonight. You want to win the Daiwa Bait Junkie kit, let us know where you're from. If you want to win the one of the 2 Atomic reel baits kits, let us know what bait fish reel baits you like throwing in your local river or estuary or freshwater impoundment. And if you want to win the Venom or the Xeric kit that the guys got in the Venom BARRA Australian Open, let us know what your PB BARRA is, or if you haven't caught a BARRA. Doesn't matter, Nicole's going to pick one of you out to get a very BARRA-worthy kit there, and you're going to win that tonight. Couple of segments left to go. We've coming up next, we've got the Rapala Bass Australian Open. A bit of a teaser. Got Mitch and Mick from from Rapala, about 30 yards out the back. They've come up and they've going to talk about some of the lures that you might be wanting to throw in that event. And very last thing tonight, of course, we've got the man himself, Carl Jocumsen. He's a man on fire, and he will be talking soon about his Florida events and what's happening at Bassmaster Classic. So let's go to a break, come back with the guys from Rapala. So we all know that Rapala Australia is a massive supporter of bass fishing. There's the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series that you guys sponsor. And of course there's Rapala Bass Australian Open happening on the Clarence River, some great middle ground between New South Wales and Queensland on the 22nd and 23rd of April this year, and it's coming up. And I've got Mick Horn, Mitch Petty from Rapala. Mick, the Clarence River doesn't matter if you're a bream or a bass fisherman, that joint has got some serious fish in it, and it's a great arena with hundreds of kilometres of shoreline for a tournament.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those rivers that probably holds a bit of a thing to my heart. I've won a brim tournament there, but I've done a lot of fishing in the Clarence over the years, even way up above the system. But that river itself can produce some awesome fishing, no matter what type of fish it is too.
And it's a funny river too, because a lot of rivers up our way, we all see after the dams run over, there is a slew of bass experts who are great at catching all the overspill bass that have come out of the lake and are starving to death in the river. But the Clarence River is 100% wild native fish that have spawned naturally. They could be anywhere from the Harwood Highway Bridge to the top of the Nimboida, depending on what has happened over the years. And I think right now there's a pretty good population of fish in the lower river. We've all fished there in the last year, and it's been a pretty cool joint, hasn't it, Mitch?
It has been. It's really impressive just to see a fishery so big, fish so well, and just the expanse of water is just crazy, doesn't it? For a lot of people, it could probably do a lot of people's heads in, just seeing how big it actually is, the system.
The Opens are always a unique ABT format. They're boater only. We have observers, and we welcome observers to come and spend time on the boats. It's 100% payback, which means when the guys pay a $550 entry fee, all of that money goes back into the prize pool. So if I get 30 boats, there's $15,000 prize money, which normally equates to a $5,000 first place and some great paybacks for 1 in 5 anglers down the list. Now, Rapala in their sponsorship not only give us a bit of cash to help us pay to run the event, but they also throw in a lot of product, and this is split between some of the prize winners, angler kits, so you get a kit full of cool Rapala lures, and observers. So if you want to volunteer as an observer from this event, sign up. The web form's on the website at the moment. You need to be in Grafton on those 2 days. We will put you on a boat. You can go out there. You can take some cool video on your phone to be part of the highlights package. You can follow at home the live scoreboards in the event. It's a really cool experience which aims to mimic, like the Bassmaster Elite Series over there. You're fishing by yourself. It's just you, live scoreboards, cool event to be a part of. And what I want the guys to do today is they're going to run through some of the Rapala baits that are going to play in this event. And if you're an angler or you're thinking of signing up as an angler, you will get a kit with 4 or 5 of these Rapala baits that are going to work for you on the river that weekend. So, Mick, start off with your side here, mate. I know you've gone through the showroom there and taken a selection of stuff that you'd be throwing if you were fishing this event. And we don't know whether you're fishing yet, mate. We don't know if the boss is going to give you the tick to do it. We know Timmy's going to fish it. But we don't know if Mitchy and Mick get the call up. I think since you wrapped his boat in the nice Rapala, mate, you should get an invite.
Yeah, 100%, I should.
Take us through some of the baits you got for us here.
So, one of my, it's over the last sort of 6 months, I've actually been doing a lot of fishing locally in the Tweed River and the Clarence, same deal, got those wild fish. Everyone loves throwing top waters, and obviously first thing in the morning that may play a part, especially if we get an overcast morning. You might get a bit more of a top water bite for a bit longer, or you head up the Aurora or the Coal Stream and fish some of that shady stuff. And it's a lure that a lot of people don't really know about, but the Max Wrap Rock and Roll 10 catches fish in the dam, and it's probably one of my favourite top waters. It's got such a good action. Walks, sort of spits a little bit of water, and covers a fair bit of water. Like the weight of it, you can cast it a long way and cover some good water. So definitely Max Wrap Walk and Roll will be tied on if I'm going to throw top water in the morning.
And they look like they're a little bit arse heavy, so they must cast like a bullet.
They do, exactly, and they do sit sort of like on a 45-degree angle in the water, and
good target.
Yeah, 100%. Like if the river, you get a lot of that sort of gar profile or that
The
kind of thing,
herrings,
the herring and stuff. And if you ever see up in the river in a bit of flowing water, you'll see all that herring and that flicking around. That bait's like a perfect imitation of that sort of thing for that early morning bite. And another one...
Well, wait a sec. That's the name of this. I always get confused with the Rapala names. It's a Rapala Max Wrap Walk and Roll 10.
Yes, that's right.
So that's the one there that, I must admit, I've never thrown one of those for bass, but when I look at the casting distance of that thing, man, that's gonna go a long way. And there are some edges, like, you fish those reed edges where a 40-metre cast isn't going to hurt.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Those cane, like along that area, Ulmarra, Brushgrove, you got all that cane grass, early in the morning. Little prawn skipping out of that cane grass, that's going to be another one of those lures. That's definitely a thing. Again, same sort of thing. The skidder prop. It's got the little blade on the back that's sort of like a little fizzer. Again, same deal, imitating a prawn or something coming out of that cane grass, or throwing it into the shade in the timber and skipping it back or fizzing it back out. I had a couple of good sessions down the Tweed on it recently. It was sort of like the lure that stood out for the day. So.
And it's balsa still, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
that's right. So it's another one of those top water lures. It's a must-have if you go to fish the Clarence round.
Jacks don't mind it either, I hear.
Yes, they do. Actually, Timmy the boss, his biggest jack is actually on surfaces come on that lure is like 60-centimetre one. So
crazy. Now this is one I have seen a lot of guys throwing. We were just down in Victoria recently. Guys were throwing the BX Brat, mate. You've got a couple of brats here. Take us through what's happened to the Brat range.
Yeah, so. The BX Brat, it's the 4x4 of crankbaits, a little square bill. So, obviously the Clarence has got a lot of that natural structure, rock walls, your natural rock banks and all that timber and stuff. The BX Brat's been a bit of a, a lot of the tournament guys used them, I think, in one of the Clarence rounds a couple of years ago and done really well. But yeah, it's a great river lure, and as I said, casting into that natural structure. Because of the square bill, it deflects off a lot of structure, so you can put it in some pretty nasty areas and get some of those big bass to come out and crunch them. Again, balsa, so if you do hook up on a tree, it'll float back to the surface sort of thing.
Naturally buoyant.
Yes, that's correct. So another one of those must-have lures if you're going to, you want a square bill that's going to, fish some nasty stuff is the BX Brat.
And every year in the Clarence, we see a blade platen play. There's a few sections of river. There's some little rock bars. There's some drain fish that they might sit up in the drain with no pressure. But when the pressure comes on, they fall back to the drop off, and you've got a blade that can do that. Take us through the Ultra Blade.
Yeah, so the Ultra Blade comes in a few different sizes, and obviously depending on the depth of water, you fish the heavier the blade, or if the bait's a fraction bigger. There's some good deep water in Grafton itself. As you said, some of those cane drains have that drop off at the end. There's a couple of those that will play part, and then as you go up the river, you Mulva Rocks, there's some deep water there. But yeah, if the bite gets a little bit tough on the edges, obviously those fish are going to be sitting out in a little bit deeper water. So a blade is pretty much a must-have to have, you know, have one tied on at least if you're not getting that edge bite. Find those schools or some bait out in deep water and put a blade right down on the bottom.
Now, I noticed these are Storm branded. This is a Storm Gamoku brand, but explain the relationship between Storm and Rapala.
Yeah, well, obviously Rapala Australia has, or Rapala in general, has multiple brands under the banner, and Storm's one of them. So Storm does a lot of offshore jigging rods and some jigs and all that kind of stuff. But we do have, you know, some smaller ranges with our trick metals for guys who like throwing spoons and stuff in the dams. And same our koikas and rockers, awesome dam lure. But again, you know, the blade's well suited to the dam, but also well suited for that, you know, your deep rock bars and stuff in your river sort of situation.
Well, we all know that sponsor karma is a thing. Every event, it seems like someone that's using the sponsor product or sponsored by that company ends up getting up there. So so it pays to research what Rapala baits might work for you on the Clarence and get some tied on. And notwithstanding, you're going to get some in your pack anyway. Yeah. We don't know exactly what mix is going to be. And Matt, the marketing manager, said there might be a sneaky little thing that's in there. There might be some baits there that you and I, and maybe you guys haven't even seen yet, that are going to make their way into that pack. So it's pretty cool. Mitch, you've got a different selection here, and I notice that it includes your favourite crankbait here, which you catch plenty of fish on. I want you to take through Mitchy's selections for the Clarence.
Yep, so I reckon probably we'll start off with the skitter pop surface. So just that popper, sort of that early morning, sort of same thing with the skitter prop and the walk and roll. I'd probably throw a max wrap walk and roll as well to have both of them and just seeing what they want on the day.
See if it's finesse or power.
Yeah, exactly. They might want that quicker retrieve, or they might want something a bit slower, something you need to keep that bait within that structure in the timber or underneath underlying trees and stuff like that. So that's why I thought it'd be good. Skitter pop. I've got a little field mouse, little colour. I know there's been a mouse plague over the last couple of years and stuff like that. So yeah, that's probably one that I'd start off in the morning.
Yep.
See what it goes with it. And obviously, as the day goes on, that's sort of where I think personally crankbaits will come into play, just for covering that lot of water. Like I was mentioning earlier, being such a vast, you know, body of water, you need to be able to cover ground quick. And I feel like a crankbait, there's not too many baits that you can crank. Well, obviously crankbaiting is crankbait. So, but just how quick you can actually move these along the water. Yeah.
So that's the Shad Rap. That's the Shad Rap Elite.
This is the Shad Rap Elite 75. Had a lot of good success with this bait. Obviously, it's been built off the original Shad Rap. It's been around for years and years and years. So they've got through wire construction, gilded finish, but still that balsa construction that everyone loves as well too. So.
Now, as a brim fisherman, I know this crankbait. This is the the Fat Jack.
It is. Fat Jack.
Been catching brim all up and down the coast. But you're suggesting it as a bass bait as well.
Yeah,
or a finesse crank.
Finesse crank, exactly right. Because it depends on the given day. They'll be honing in on smaller bait sort of profile. So I thought Fat Jack, it's still got the ability to go down quite deep along those rock walls and the cane grass we just mentioned earlier.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's why I thought, I'll throw the Fat Jack in the mix. And I know that yourself have caught, bass as well when you're chasing brim.
Yep.
Have been getting bass on, those smaller crankbaits as well too. So no, definitely one that I'd be having tied on for sure.
And throwing the Fat Jack a lot, I know they can actually take a bit of speed as well. Brim often like that real slow wind, but bass don't mind a bit of extra speed in that retrieve, and that's a small crankbait that can handle it.
Yeah.
Now, this is a bait that played last year in the grand final. Bo Everly won the non-boater section.
Yep.
What was he using? One of the DT8s, wasn't he?
Yep, definitely.
And you got a bit of a history in the Open as well. Last year at the Australian Open, what did you catch on your DT8? Come on.
Yeah, so last year I was fortunate enough to get big bass last year, 52 forker, and that was on that exact colour there. So smash, DT8, just cranking along the rock walls and that, and as it hit one of the falling down trees that was sort of lying on the cliff there, she come up and smashed it. So no, it was really, really good. But just the same thing, similar to Shad Rap Elite, just the versatility of like moving it really quick and covering ground is by far, it makes it so much, makes it such a versatile bait.
Well, that's a great selection of Rapala and Storm, of course, which is the sub-brand of Rapala. Baits that you might want to look at to fish that Clarence Bass Australian Open, sponsored by Rapala. Remember, anglers, 100% payback. We have got probably less than 10 entries at the moment, but we're expecting that sort of 30 style boat field. means there's going to be great paybacks for the weekend. Entry forms, observer nomination forms, all the rules, all the stuff is on the website, abt.org.au. I think it's going to be a cracking event, whether you're fishing it and fishing for the money, or if the boss is a bit of a bastard and you're at home watching the live scoreboards. It's going to be a great event to interact with anyway, because I really think that when an event has a live scoreboard and then all of a sudden it doesn't have a live scoreboard, you miss out with what's going out on the water. We all love watching Carl Jocumsen, watching the bass track going every night. I mean, the fact that we run this on the app, it allows us to have a 5 fish limit for the boaters, because legally you can't keep 5 in the well. All the fish are released at the point of capture, and we get a live scoreboard. It means it's going to be a cracking event. So thank you very much, Rapala, for sponsoring it. We look forward to seeing you at the Clarence or at the other end of the computer watching those live scoreboards.
What do you see?
Reminds me of muskies.
I love your mind.
They call it a bucket mouse because he's got a bucket mouse.
Wow.
I just want to tell you, I've been slaying the walleye lately.
That is so hot.
Ever bump the stump?
Suffix 832, the line that changes the game.
We laugh at that ad. I'm just imagining Tommy Wood as one of the people on that ad. It's called a BARRA Monday because we call it a BARRA Monday. That'll be Tommy, downtown Knoxville, a couple of weeks' time. We have one segment to go, and it is all about downtown Knoxville. It's Australia's favourite Bassmaster Elite Pro. We caught up with him after his hot run in Florida. We know you're all sitting around waiting for this segment. That's why we put it last. Let's go do it. Talk to Carl Jocumsen.
Here he is, Australia's favourite Bassmaster Elite Pro, Carl Jocumsen. Before you say anything, all I've got to say is BARRA training is good for bass fishermen, is it not?
Yeah, they better come over this year and get amongst it, I reckon. It's perfect pre-training, ready to go for the season.
Because once you've knocked over some 20 or 30 pound BARRA, it's like, oh yeah, 7 pounder, 8 pounder. You're sort of disappointed that they're not big, but they get you good places in tournaments.
And you throw bigger baits, catch bigger fish.
Mate, congratulations on your start to the season. Pretty sure most times you drive out of Florida, you're in the bottom half of the AOY standings, but where are you right now?
Yeah, sitting in second in Angler of the Year. I was in the lead there for a minute. But yeah, super cool. Come out of Florida with a 6th and an 11th, almost 2 top 10 cuts. And had real shots to win, really, because on the final days, they all left them wide open to win. And so, on Okeechobee, I only needed to catch 25 pounds and I would have won on that final day. So, not complaining about missing the cut on that at Seminole, because, the 11th place on that was the one that I had circled that I was most concerned about. Like, I've been over here since 2011 now, and I'd never been on Seminole, and I've been on most of them, fished a tournament on most lakes that are on the schedule at some stage, and Seminole just threw a real curve. I was like, holy, I've never been to that place, never fished it, and it's one of the most dangerous, sort of tricky lakes in the whole country. It's a crazy lake to try and break down. Just grass everywhere, weed clumps for thousands of acres everywhere you go. It's just all the same, giant logs. As soon as you get outside of the marker buoys, you're just up on the sides of logs. It's treacherous and it's a nightmare. And so for me to break it down and then figure a pattern out and get it done 11th is like a win. So super happy.
Were you scared of Okeechobee as well, because it's got a reputation of being a big lake which fishes real small? Did you think it was just going to be a punch on in the clear water?
Yeah, it's sort of it helped me in a way to almost be like, well, it's just this 4 areas that you can catch, that there isn't even bass living. So it was my ultimate nightmare in one sense, because you had to be around boats. You were gonna be in amongst these boats. The lake is basically the biggest lake in the whole country. It's just ginormous. It's like it's an ocean, and here was 4 areas that had fishable water in the whole lake. It was weird, and so I kind of helped me in the fact that I got to like get in some of those areas and bunker down and go like, I've just got to figure out how to catch them. The coolest part about it all is I actually found an area where only basically one other boat found. I got further back into this flooded area and I pushed back so far that guys didn't go back that far and they didn't find it. And so when I was there on the first day, it was only me and Matt Airey. And I was like, oh, this isn't good, because it usually means a lot of boats went through there and never got bites. But I got to settle in there and I caught like 30 buck bass. And when you're doing that in Florida, that means there's a wave of big ones coming, or they're there. The bucks are either waiting for them or the bucks are around them. And I just couldn't believe it, because I'm like, I had the swim jig dialed in, I had the bite, I knew where they were setting up, and I was getting those bites, and it was like, any second I'm going to get a big one. And this is day one, first elite, I'm in an area, I'm catching bass, there's not many people around. I'm like, this is all good things. Next minute, time's up, I have to make 40-minute run back, and I've got 12 pounds. And I'm like, and Matt Airey caught one big one, like a 7-pounder near me. So I was like, man, they are in there. And within a distance of there was like John Cox and a few other boats, and the biggest bag was like 16 pounds. And so that night when I looked at how it went down, I'm like, I don't even know if I can make the cut in there, because you can generally tell, like, if John and those couple guys could only catch 16, same with Matt, that's what he caught with a giant. I'm like, I don't even know if it can be done. And so other guys would go to areas where they got caught and go down. And I decided not to do that. And I stuck to my guns. I went back in there and just on the day one, I could tell the water had come up about a foot. Then I stayed with a 3/8 ounce, and my gut told me to go heavier, and the 3/8 was hanging out above them, and I ended up changing to a 1/2 ounce, went to that bigger swammer, and I started to let it sink, and it sank just a little bit further. And when it got down deeper in those holes, that's where the big females were sitting on the bottom. And within 5 casts of making that tiny adjustment, I caught a 7-11. And then about 5 minutes later, 6-pounder, 5-pounder, and then next minute, your whole tournament's changed. So it was a pretty cool adjustment, sort of a cool way to know, like, I stuck with what I knew and went back to that area and like figured them out. And then on the final day, I was the last man standing in that whole area. I'd beaten everyone. I was the only guy left. So pretty cool.
That's cool, isn't it? Because historically you've been sort of kneecapped by these little adjustments and that you miss. So afterwards you work out what you've done wrong, but now you're working it out on the fly, and it's making a huge difference to the results.
Yeah, for sure. It's those little, it's just knowing what those bass are going to do, seeing the temperatures, what's the time of year, what's this first, is there a first wave coming? Is it second? Are they even going to come? Is the moon and everything right? And then just knowing, like, okay, it's all set and these big ones should be there. Now I got to figure out how to get them to bite. And it was that one little thing from a 3/8 to a 1/2, and then letting it kill in the holes where I thought they were setting up. And, you know, sometimes you're always wrong, but you're wrong a lot. But this time I was right, and it showed. And it was cool because as the tournament progressed, more boats pushed in there, because I caught 24-11. And so now a few more elite guys in there, a few more locals. Next day I caught 23-something. And on the third day, there was just more and more. And I'm like, they kept coming in there. It was frustrating, but it was like I had a silver bullet. There was boats all around me, and I knew it's one of those things where you know what you're doing, and they're all swimming it over the top and flipping, and it just wasn't the deal. And I was able to like pick up all these big ones around them. So it was kind of the perfect storm.
It's always the case, isn't it? You never do as well fishing someone else's fish that you haven't worked out yourself.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I've always sort of gone off, and it's always served me well. It's just, I've always had to, like, I have to know what to do. I have to know what those fish are doing. And then when you do it, you understand it like tenfold.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it is, got to Seminole and the same technique played. It just, instead of a bluegill style bait, I changed to a shad style when I seen them chasing these threadfin, and it was the same swim jig, same bait, everything. And I was able to fish it through all of that cover. And I just haven't been a huge swim jig fan over the years. I don't know why. I like fishing it. I've done well. I've caught a lot of fish on it, but I've never like capitalized on it in a tournament. And this just really helped me. Like when those fish are trying to do a bunch of things, some are wanting to spawn, some have already spawned, some are fry guarding, some are feeding post spawn, and some are sliding in there. That swim jig catches all of those fish. It catches every one of them on any particular cast, and that's what made it so good, because both of those tournaments, that's what we hit. We hit this like transition where the fish were doing everything. So yeah, it was good.
You know that while Seminole was on was when the Zurich BARRA Australian Open was on. We'd finish the session at midnight. The whole campground would basically come to the house we're staying in and sit around the big TV watching you on live mix on the Bassmaster.
Oh, yeah.
You had a camera that day, but when everyone went to lunch, when Zona goes to have his 2 hamburgers for lunch, they just put on you the whole time, basically, and you're throwing that light-coloured swim jig and you're popping it over things, and you're telling us it's going to happen. So we lasted till about 3 a.m, and then we went to bed, and then straight after that, it happened.
Yeah.
But it was
I had to make a pretty different adjustment on that day too, because it's wild. Like everything was the same, but I didn't have the wind. It was just like a ripple on the surface. That's all it was. It wasn't even much, and they just totally went off of it. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I end up having to idle. I did a 30-minute idle through this stump field, went underneath this bridge into this little pond backwater, and no one was back there. And that pond saved me both days. I was able to catch almost 12 pounds and got in the cut. Otherwise, I was almost going to burn it to the ground. Like I had 3 for 4 or 5 pounds, and that would have been out of the cut. And I got back in there, and I pitched a wacky rig around and saved myself and sat in 20th. And then the next day, got the wind again, swim jig bite came back on, and I had almost 19 pounds and jumped to 11th. So, it was a good feeling to just make those key adjustments on the fly and not like do what I usually would have done and just burn it to the ground trying to win. Instead, I like saved when I need to save and then attack when you know you can. So it's just all experience and learning.
Let me just take you through a thing which is happening at the moment on ABT Live. Everyone who we got on the January show basically smashed in the tournaments. Joey Gardner came first in WA after we interviewed him. Mario Vukic, Mick Johnson, the BARRA guys that we interviewed caught at the 124 centimetre BARRA at Awonga. It's like, this is a pretty good timing for an interview. The Bassmaster Classic. Take us through how your classic prep's going and how excited you are about having a classic so close to home.
Yeah, it's insane. It's an amazing feeling. It couldn't be working out any better. You know, got out of Florida, because a lot of the times you come out of there and now you got, like, I hear the guys have spoken about it, and I've always said I wouldn't care where I come. I'll be fishing the Classic. I'm happy. But you can lead into the Classic, coming 80th in the points, miss 2 checks, and that's not good momentum going into that Classic. Momentum is everything, and so I feel really good coming out, catching a lot of fish, good bags, and just sitting in second in Angler of the Year, and then having almost 2.5-3 weeks to get prepped again, get my stuff dialed before the Classic. So I'm not rushed. I feel settled. My gear is going to be like 100%. My boat and tackle, all of that. I just fish better when I'm organized. I like to fish like non-stop, but I also like to have those breaks, have a reset, unpack, get all of my stuff dialed again, and then go. And this year and last year I've been able to do that, and it's been helping me a lot than just getting in a crazy rush. But everything's lining up. We're doing the big trash rubbish cleanup next weekend, and then I have another week, and then practice starts Friday. It's almost a 2-week ordeal for the Bassmaster Classic. Yeah. I got practice Friday, a week before the tournament starts. So it's kind of weird because it's going to be totally different. It's a real tournament where you have to fish on the fly and make really good adjustments. So I practice Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm going to take the camper down and camp on the lake. And then we have like all of these media days, and we have the Night of Champions, and it's a super cool few days. And then you have, I think then you just have that one actual official practice day. You might have one more in there, but on the Thursday we have like, it's exactly how the Classic will run. You'll have a marshal, they'll do the takeoff, the whole thing, and you'll have to, and you have to check in at like 3 or whatever, whenever your check-in is. So you go and do that, and that's going to be your real practice day. Like that's when you're going to want to get a lot of stuff done, because that week it could be cold, it could be hot, it's gonna do all of these things, and we're right in the middle of when these fish in Tennessee and in the South are just ready to do all of these different things. They're waiting for that heat. So that last day of practice is going to be the most important.
That's awesome. And Australia's second most favourite Bassmaster Elite Pro, Gussie, has got to be one of the favourites on that joint, since he wailed on him last time and took away $100,000. So we got two really top people.
Yeah, me and Gussie, and either one of us, that'd be awesome. He's definitely going to be chasing those smallmouth down. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, whether the warm or the cold stays and how much pressure that area gets, because he basically almost had it to himself last time. So it's going to be a cool, interesting Classic. It's pretty awesome taking off from the middle of downtown Knoxville, and then for the Aussies and for the fans, it's super cool because it's all just right there. Sort of the accommodation, the Bassmaster Expo, takeoff, weigh in, it's all right there. And you can walk to basically everything. So it's the ultimate tournament destination, and cool for me to be there first, my first Classic there, and then living only an hour from there. It's all pretty cool.
On the side, how keen is Gussie to come back and catch more barra?
He's like, when are we going? If you told him we're going over the Classic, I reckon he'd bail and go and fishing for barra.
Barra fishing.
Yeah, he's ate up with it. He's like, when are we going?
and just a little bit of some of your other mates over there are keen on coming. Looks like we might get maybe a couple more of the guys coming across this year. What are the odds on some of the guys coming for a trip? And
I know Brandon.
They're all hunting guys. They want to hunt. They come barra fishing.
Yeah, no, it works out pretty good. Like you can still get a lot of hunting done, because hunting out in the Pacific Northwest with elk and stuff is like September. And then there's not a whole lot in October, and the whitetail is later on in the season. So like a 2-3 week gap in November is like ideal for these guys. So yeah, I know Brandon, and I had Bernie Schultz. He was like, how do you do that? And I was like, well, the guys are setting it up. And he's like, tell me when, and I'm there. So I'd love to get, and Mercer really wants to come over. He's been chomping at it, so we're gonna work hard to try and make it happen again. Because it really was like just the trip of a lifetime. It was cool for me because I hadn't been home for so long, and I got to experience and do it all again. But having Gussie with me just made it like my trip of a lifetime, because I got to see how much he loved it, and showing him like, how unbelievable is this? And he's like, he had no idea. You can tell him, but when we were there doing it, he's like, this is incredible.
So what was the chance that Gussie in his first tournament at Okeechobee picked up a Molex 140 and started slinging it?
Yeah. Yeah, they were asking him, a few guys asking him here if he did the Demiki rig thing on the Barra. They were all asking him that. And he did try that. It probably would work like a big jerk shad on a jig head or something. But yeah, his main thing was we were trying to get the landscape, mode going with Humminbird, and we've got it really dialed in now and using it pretty effectively. So that was like one of the big lessons that we sort of learned. And I don't know if you saw over here, like Kennedy and a few guys, they used it at Okeechobee, and they could see bass spawning and stuff in like 3 feet of water.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna 100% play. When I got back, I had like all the Humminbird guys in my boat, and I was like showing them, and we were watching the glide bait come back and on every cast, and the jerk bait and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely, that was a cool little thing to bring back and be like, this is going to work over here.
Hey, Good on Aussies
Yeah.
for working out something
Hey.
the Americans
Yeah.
Americans weren't doing yet.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, look, it's awesome. I got one of the Carl shirts on at the moment. We shipped all of those
Yeah.
a day or two ago, so all of your fans
Awesome.
should get them in the next week or so, in time for the classic. And mate, it's
Yeah.
let's keep the roll going. I think that
Yeah.
the ABT Live. It's not a curse. The ABT Live pat on the back. Let it keep going.
Yeah. No, got to say a huge thank you to all the Aussies that bought the shirts, the jerseys, everything went out. It's going to be cool to see them. They came out really well. And the support has been, the Aussie support's always incredible, but we are always looking there and seeing how much it was when they were buying the jerseys and the shirts and everything like that. We just can't say thank you enough. And to ABT, I can't wait to see all you guys over here. The Bassmaster's got a few things sorted for you, and we're going to try and show you an awesome time in Knoxville, and we'll all catch up. And I think after the Classic, we're organising to catch up with all the Aussies that come over as well. So it's going
to be good. How are you going to like seeing the section in the stand that's got all the crazy Aussies with the face paint on, mate?
I know. We got to sort out the Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. We'll do that over.
We will practice that all our lives, mate. We're all over that.
Yeah, we don't need to practice that. I just need to do it.
There you go. All right, mate. Well, thanks for joining us, mate. Thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate your time as always, and go get that Classic pre-prep done.
Thanks, mate.
We really appreciate the time that Carl always gives us on ABT Live. He's a humble angler that knows where he came from, and he's got plenty of time for his fans. And I think everyone in Australia is cheering for him in that Bassmaster Classic. You know, we're all got our fingers crossed that the weather's going to come together and it's going to fall into his wheelhouse. It's close to his home, so you know anything can happen, especially when you've got a little bit of momentum. I've got some competition results here. I've got a whole page of competition results. Let's go through and give them away. Where are you watching from? It was a Facebook viewer, Nathan Gregory, who I think's fished an ABT event or two, from Boambi, Eastern New South Wales. He provided us with full longitude and latitude details. So we've got a bait junkie pack coming your way, Nathan. Just send us your address on Facebook Messenger to the ABT page, and we will get that to you. The BARRA. This is for the Xeric kit, the first one. Now, it was nearly Joel McKenzie. Joel McKenzie caught a 109 in what he said was Morgo's spot, but Nicole, who's judging the comp, said it's Nicole's spot. So you got this close to winning, Joel. It was Nicole's spot, not my spot. There you go, you haven't won. Crippy on YouTube. Hasn't even been able to catch a barra at the Sunny Coast Barra Park yet, and the rest of his family has. So Crippy on YouTube, send us a message on Facebook. You have got yourself a barra kit that you can sling around at the Sunny Coast Barra Park. But heck, if you're up this way, keep on going up to Mondi or Wonga or somewhere. Catch yourself a big barra in one of those lakes, and we have got the kit for you for that. So Crippy, send us. Who's watching on YouTube, send us a message. Now we've got 2 of the Atomic Reel Baits prizes to give away. Especially with one of these things. This is called the Bully Mullet 180, that one there. This one here is called the Yellow Eye Mullet, all modelled on the actual colours and patterns on the fish. On Facebook, Evan Matthews. He wants to throw a 6-inch potty mullet around his local estuary. So Evan, send us your details. You're going to win one of the reel baits plus one of the Slim Twitcher 110s, shallow and deep. So 3 lures each for you, plus the atomic hat. On YouTube, it's Clint McDermott who wants a reel baits bony brim. There you go, Michael. Get your ass into gear, make yourself one of those. Clint, I think, was the angler who won the Bass Electric down at Corokai. So Clint, you have had a pretty winning couple of weeks. Continues here. I'm pretty sure we've got your address in the ABT database, so maybe you don't need to send it to us. We're just going to mail that to you. We've got nothing much else to do tonight apart from pack some prize kits up, whack a mail sticker on them, lock this joint up and go home. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thanks to Nicole for all the behind-the-scenes work. Thanks to the guys who logged on and commented. We had good audiences tonight, always between sort of 100 and 200 people on there watching. Any final comments from the production desk? I'm getting the big, I don't know if that's a donut or a no. This is the donut. That's it. I won't make any comments about Nicole's Awonga donuts. She'll start throwing things at me. It's only been 5 years in Awonga without a barra. Next year's the year, isn't it? I'm getting this. I'm getting nothing. Thanks for joining us on ABT Live, number 35. We'll see you for ABT Live 36. probably a little bit before the Rapala Bass Australian Open on the Clarence, but if not, just after. Okay. See ya. We're on. Go on. The Hummingbird round of the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series 2023 Lake Glen Maggie in East Gippsland, Victoria, a lake which underperformed last year, but this year Matt Langford, the event winner, and the other anglers showed exactly the potential that this lake has. Matt would always aim to catch a small limit each morning on crankbaits along some of the rocky shores, and then he moved to open water, targeting fish on his Garmin live scope. And let's let Matt explain exactly what happened.
Yeah, Glen Maggie fished way better this year, and it was good to catch some real nice fish here, yeah. Going out this morning, I knew I had to catch at least a couple of good ones, and I did do a sneaky check mid-morning and could see Mick was catching them pretty good, so I sort of, like I was saying, I channeled my Morgo for Barra, but basically I've got a dual setup up the front, so I've got the LVS 34 transducers, but I've got two at the front, so I've got one on my electric, and I've got the Mick Johnson live pole, I've got perspective on it. So perspective I run on the right screen, and on the left screen I run forward mode. So that bite I found in particular out in the middle of the basin, there was no pressure out there whatsoever, and I just found pre-fish day that, you know, I was using the perspective mode to find the single fish. Sometimes they were in pairs, but I'd find them on perspective, I'd electric over to them, and in forward mode I'd be able to pitch a plastic to them in front, and you know, I could see the way that they were reacting to the lure, whether they were going to eat it or not. They would either get a fright or they would dance around the lure. When they started dancing, you knew you were onto something.
New South Wales Dane Price started slow at Blue Rock, but he really redeemed himself at Glen Maggie. His bag of 5 fish averaged nearly a kilo apiece, 4.91 kilos, gets him third place. And there's no prizes for guessing what he caught them on. Dane loves throwing a jig.
Look at that horse. Yes. Have a good one.
And it was great to see local angler and, frankly, the man who got ABT to Victoria, Steve Duff, catch 8 out of 10 for just under 5 kilos. 4th place got him a great check.